Joining me right now to talk more about these developments is Cynthia Miller-Idriss. She's the director of the Polarization and Extremism Research and Innovation Lab at American University. She's also the author of the book Hate in the Homeland, the New Global Far Right. Cynthia, great to see you.
Good to see you.
So these two apparent terror incidents don't appear to be directly connected, but there may be some correlations or parallels, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we are seeing rising risks of terror attacks, especially anti-Semitic attacks across the world. We saw the Bondi Beach. We had 2 attacks in the Netherlands just in the last 24 hours. These attacks, we've had several attacks on synagogues and houses of worship. And this is just an escalation. The second attack in Old Dominion was, unrelated, but similar kinds of trajectories in terms of a disgruntled, angry veteran who had a previous, was arrested and imprisoned previously for trying to provide material support to ISIS. So, we're not doing a very good job on the prevention side here, and the risks are much, much higher as the weeks go by and people continue to circulate and believe propaganda.
And with those rising risks, I mean, how concerned should Americans be?
I think Americans, the whole point of terrorism is to terrify people, right? And to get them to change their habits and what they do. And we don't want to be, cowed by that. We don't want people to change the way they live their lives. At the same time, I think people have to be alert about large crowds, about the spaces they're in. We have to take every measure we can in terms of the security of vulnerable places like synagogues and houses of worship, while not letting the terrorists win and making us stay home and afraid.
With that Detroit area, attack at the synagogue and school, the suspect was born in Lebanon, entered the U.S. in 2011 on a visa as the spouse of a U.S. citizen, and obtained a citizenship in 2016. And authorities are investigating reports that he told people that he had multiple family members killed in a recent Israeli airstrike in Lebanon. So what are your thoughts here on the possible direct line between the Iran war and this attack?
Well, this is very similar to what we saw in the wake of the October 7th attacks on Israel by Hamas, and then the backlash, the war essentially in Gaza, is that we see rising anti-Semitism when people believe a false propaganda trope that ordinary Jews are somehow responsible for the actions of the state of Israel. And so whether he's mad at the state of Israel for those deaths of a family member or not, in ways that inspire him to commit mass violence, there's absolutely no rational explanation why anyone would connect ordinary Jews, and particularly children at a preschool and elementary school, as in any way being responsible. So that is actually a preventable propaganda trope. We can point that out, that it's manipulative, and people will recognize it and reject it, but only if you get to them before they believe it. And we're just not really doing any investment on the prevention side in this country.
Then at the Old Dominion University in Virginia situation, the shooter is identified as a former Virginia National Guard member who has served prison time for attempting to aid the Islamic militant group a decade ago. Back in 2016, he tried to get weapons to pull off what he wanted to be an attack in the name of ISIS and donate money to ISIS. He serves time, gets out in December of 2024. I mean, did authorities, in your view, kind of drop the ball by not monitoring him closer, in other words, or even, coming to a realization that being in prison does not necessarily mean becoming de-radicalized?
Exactly, especially in the U.S. I mean, France, the U.K., there are actual prison de-radicalization programs. Even there, we've had instances where actors have enacted terrorist attacks after being released, after being certified as having been de-radicalized. So even the best de-radicalization programs that exist, there's no guarantee that they work. We don't really have enough training or expertise in all cases among probation officers who can certify that someone has been effectively de-radicalized, and the evidence is very thin about how to initiate that. So I think one of the things we have to be wary of as we see rising domestic violence extremism and people going to prison for this, is that they are going to get out. These are not long sentences, and we do need ways for communities to be more alert aware and prepared when people in their lives start exhibiting warning signs.
All right, we'll leave it there for now. Cynthia Miller-Idriss, thank you so much.
Thanks, Fred.